Colleen Kelly, and this is Round Trip with Colleen Kelly, your go-to podcast for unforgettable travel stories, top tips, and all the adventures that you've been waiting for. And today we're going to talk about Venice, Italy. I went there in October. It was incredible. We're going to talk to the St. Regis Hotel. And if you stick around, we're going to talk about Murano and the oldest glass factory tour that I took, which is incredible. It's kind of a secret, too. Hey everybody, so guess what? I am talking to the St. Regis Venice, where I stayed in the fall, one of my favorite properties in the world. It was absolutely stunning. And this episode is going to be about the St. Regis Venice. We have the general manager here, Audrey, and I'm so excited, Audrey, to have you on the show. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for organizing this. I'm thrilled to be on a call with you as well.
Oh, well, I'm excited just to relive my experience because for those of you that don't know, I stayed there with my husband and my daughter, and we had the most fabulous time. I had been in Venice probably 25 years ago for my honeymoon, and so I was just amazed by how absolutely gorgeous it was, and I got to take my daughter for the first time. But let's talk about the St. Regis Venice because it's probably best if you explain the property to everybody because I can certainly tell them my experience. But tell us a little bit about the St. Regis Venice and what makes it so special.
There's so much to talk about. No, St. Regis Venice for sure is one of those heritage buildings in this magical city. If we really want to go back a little bit to the historical aspect of the Europa Regina building, which is still very clearly stated on the Grand Canal. No, it goes all the way back to 1895. So we're talking centuries back when this location was the Grand Hotel Britannia. And it actually coincided that same year with the first ever Biennale of Venice, which this year, if I recall correctly, we're around the 83rd version of the Art Biennale. So we're going way back, in terms of historical. It quickly became Venice's most impressive place to stay, quite frankly, back in those days. And it was attracting, your typical artists, your writers, a lot of travelers that wanted, to get to know, those iconic views of the Grand Canal. It evolved, obviously, over the years. And if we go a little bit more recent, and specifically talk St. Regis Venice, the rebranding to the St. Regis Venice occurred in 2019. It received a top to bottom renovation, and it's we're truly honoring the palazzo heritage, but with a slightly more modern, contemporary, and very specifically art-driven style and design.
So I could feel that when I arrived. Actually, we got picked up in a water taxi. Now in Chicago, we don't have those, so that was absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And when we arrived, it was so incredibly beautiful because it is on the canals. It overlooks these incredible buildings as well, like all with the incredible architecture. But when I walked in, it had that modern feel, and there was so much artwork you just mentioned.
Indeed.
It's inspired. Yes, yes. That was stunning to see that in the lobby and everywhere we kind of walked around.
Yeah.
Also, we stayed in a suite that overlooked the canal. Well, what would you say? What was the building across from us?
It's the beautiful Basilica Santa Maria della Salute. Yes.
Thank you. That was stunning. We
Yes.
walked in and my breath it took my breath away.
Yeah, for sure.
It really was stunning. And then the food is incredible too. Can we talk about the food and the service? The people there were so friendly. The service was impeccable. Can you tell us a little bit about how your hotel is run? Because it really was incredible.
Yeah, most definitely. We actually have a fantastic restaurant named Gio's, and the name Gio's comes because it faces San Giorgio's Island. No, so we took a smaller term as geos. It's our, you could say, our three meal outlet restaurant. But what's quite unique of geos is obviously the concept that's behind it. It's a marriage between the Venetian regional ingredients, produce, but with Pugliese from Puglia. Our chef is from Puglia, so he brings in a little bit of his Pugliese traditions. He moved to Venice about 10 years ago, fell in love with the city, but of course his roots are his roots, and Puglia, he will take it with him all the way through. So it's a beautiful, a beautiful marriage between those two regional territories in everything that is being served. It's definitely a stunning location once again because it's on the Grand Canal, also with a beautiful terrace overlooking that beautiful Basilica Santa Maria della Salute. And it's a joyful and very comfortable setting, winter and summer. No, because our terraces are heated as well, so you can truly enjoy this setting all the way through the year. Then the St. Regis Bar, which is quite unique as well.
Oh, yeah.
You can't come to a St. Regis without having your St. Regis bar, where you enjoy our St. Regis Bloody Mary. No, one of the rituals of our brand. Ours is also named the Santa Maria Bloody Mary to honor once again the beautiful basilica, which is right in front. And then, of course, we have the Arts Bar, which is fantastic. It's a concept only after dinner, and it focuses on artistic, bespoke cocktails made by our team. And each of those cocktails have their own designed and hand blown Murano glass.
We had those. I have a 23-year-old, so we were
Ah,
definitely enjoying those cocktails, and I loved the way they had names, and that beautiful glass, the Murano glass was stunning.
yes.
But we also sat outside at Gio's, and
Mhm.
it was beautiful weather. It was October. It was just absolute perfection. I couldn't
Yeah.
have asked for anything better. But to have that view and that food, my husband is a former restaurateur. He owned a couple restaurants in Chicago, so he's very particular about
Yes.
his food, and he just was so thrilled with the meals, and it was incredible. So we had a wonderful time, and some of my best pictures are on that terrace,
Yeah.
overlooking that beautiful basilica with my daughter and my husband, and something to treasure for sure.
Amazing.
But yes, and little note here. I heard that there's a lot of famous people that stay at this hotel, and
Really?
for a good reason. Oh, you can't tell us, right?
Ah! Those are, of course, that's again, something too. No, we're very private, like we are with all of our guests. It's not information that we would divulgate very freely. We honor and appreciate that they stay with us because they know they can count on our confidentiality. And so yes, this remains, I would say,
A
in a
mystery.
tight circle, a little mystery, and occasionally, I guess, the press helps us, no, sharing who is where and who's in Venice, and exactly.
Right, exactly. Well, I do appreciate, I'm sure they do too, the privacy, of
Of
course.
course.
But it is, I know that it's well known that there are some famous people that stay there, and
Mm,
we'll just leave it at that, I think, right?
I appreciate it. Thank
But
you.
yes, yes. And tell us a little bit more about the rooms too, because
Yes.
like as I mentioned, when I walked in, oh, they were just so beautifully decorated, and, the views, of course, from the hotel room, we were in a suite, were just stunning. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how what's the thought behind these rooms? Because they were just so impeccable.
Yeah. So, the St. Regis Venice, I would probably consider it to be one of the larger luxury hotels in our city. Um, some of our, neighbor competitors, we could say, probably would range around 100 rooms at maximum. So the St. Regis Venice stands at 163 rooms, of which 39 are suites. Now, the beauty of this property is, as you saw, Colleen, it's five palazzos that became one hotel altogether. So, although we are a large hotel, it never feels that way because you can be in one palazzo and your friends could be in a different palazzo. You all have your individual kind of say, mansion ambiance and atmosphere, right? Again, we go back to the design of the design that has been chosen for our guest rooms is honoring the traditions. The Venetian traditions are definitely there. We have some touches of, the famous Carlo Scarpa, who was the most famous Venetian architect back in the days. We brought in, the soft, what do you call them, softer tones that Monet used to bring into his art pieces. So we have a lot of those pastel colors, which gives it a certain freshness and calmness. And yes, the contemporary, artistic, disruptive touch that St. Regis tends to bring is definitely there too. So it's a beautiful combination. Now, of course, not everybody faces the Grand Canal, but the large majority of our inventory would be canal facing. And some, of course, we only have 14 rooms that have a terrace. So those few guests that are lucky enough to actually enjoy a balcony or a terrace, overviewing that Grand Canal is quite phenomenal.
Well, any room there is phenomenal in my
It is.
opinion, and,
Yeah.
it's funny you should say that because I thought it was a lot smaller. It felt so intimate, which
Mm,
is nice to know that there was 139 rooms, so if you had several friends or family members coming, you have space, but that's
absolutely.
exactly what I felt like, and the colors, like, Monet is one of my favorite artists,
Yeah.
so, that was pretty incredible because the colors of the room were very calm,
Mhm.
and you just looked out at the water, and it's just I could have stayed a month there. Okay,
Yeah.
Audrey.
Next time, Colleen, next
Exactly. Set up precedents, right? But, there is something interesting about those suites, and, did Monet s now we can talk about this famous person. Did
Mm,
Monet stay?
certainly.
Because yeah, I think he'd be okay with it. Did he stay there, or how what was the what's the story behind,
Yes, indeed.
some artists?
So Claude Monet resided here for 3, 4 months, if I'm not mistaken, back in his good old days, and yeah, he loved it here. No, of course, his paintings or the pieces that he put together from one of our Monet suites, which we still name after him, obviously. Um, reflect exactly that, no, what he had in front of him, whether it's San Giorgio's Island, the Grand Canal, the Basilica. No, very, you could tell he was at home here.
To know that I was standing in the same place that Monet lived is incredible.
Yeah.
So much history in that building as well. I'm sure there's we could go on and on about that, but,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit also about Venice because, when I went to Venice 25 years ago for my honeymoon, it was a much different place,
Hmm.
'cause and I have a lot of people asking me, "What is Venice like now?" It is so clean. It's so beautiful. It
Yes.
didn't feel crowded in any way. Of course, I went in October, which is a lovely time of year to go.
Most definitely.
And tell me about Venice, because of course, we've got Jeff Bezos, and we've got George Clooney who got married there.
Yeah.
Why did they pick Venice? I know why, but why should people come to Venice?
I mean, Venice is, it's a one of a kind destination. No, I have traveled many places and lived in many places around the globe also. There's nothing out there that can be compared to Venice, and it must be seen. It's, I always say, of course, it's a city that keeps you very fit.
Oh,
No,
yes.
a lot of walking and ups and downs, but it's charming. It's you can easily, it's the beauty of coming to Venice. You can get lost in those small alleys, and you will find your way out. No, it's kind of a labyrinth of and with a lot of history. No, like I always suggest my guests try to organize a walking tour with a guide to really understand how Venice came together. No, it's about 118 small islands that were connected, obviously, at a later stage with the bridges. But the uniqueness of knowing that every time you cross a bridge, you're on a different little island from back in the days, which represented Venice. You will always on those islands find a water well in the center, a church in the center. No, every little island has that. So it brings a lot of history. Italy, you can't go wrong with Italy in the first place. Design wise, they have the style, no, the beauty, the fashion. Um, they tick all the boxes. In all fairness, right?
It absolutely does, and you've gotta walk off that Italian beautiful Italian food in Venice as well, so that
Sure.
helps to explore. Yes, Venice is stunning, and, really, it is a place that is unlike any other place in the world, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
There's just nothing else like it, and I
Yeah.
had a neighbor who said she's going to Italy, and she's like, "Should I go to Venice?" I said, don't miss Venice.
Mm,
Don't miss Venice
mm,
because it is absolutely stunning.
yeah.
But of course, your hotel is like the cream of the crop, as they say. It just was incredible to stay there. So
I mean,
it
our location is great
oh,
too. Also, no, we're just a few minutes walk from Piazza San Marco. No, we talked about the monuments that are literally standing in front of us, just by
mhm.
crossing the famous wooden Academia Bridge. You're right there. You've got the Peggy Guggenheim Museum close by. Lots of small museums. The theater, La Fenice Theater, the oldest theater of Venice, is right here. You can go to concerts, and Vivaldi was born here. My God, there's so much to do and so much to know.
Absolutely. It's that yes, there's so much to do. The location of the St. Regis is perfect. I
Yeah.
like a place that I can walk from. I do not want to be out, you know, outside the city. I like to be in the city. So the location was absolutely perfect, like you said, to walk to
Yeah.
these museums, these beautiful churches, just up and down these lovely bridges. So there's so much history. And where can people go? Where can they go to book the St. Regis? Because if you go to Venice, you have to stay here. This, in my opinion. Obviously, there's many places to stay,
Yeah.
but if you're going to do Venice, you got to
I
stay at the
mean,
St. Regis.
listen, of course, the easiest way I would say is online through the Marriott.com website. No, where we are a large organization, but there we are. No, Marriott.com, and then St. Regis Venice. We're operating year round, which is also quite unique for us or for Venice, because many of the hotels do tend to have a small closure during the winter days. But St. Regis is available all year round. We have our Instagram page that keeps you
Oh,
updated on the new and the fresh news from St. Regis Venice. And of course, the reservations team here is always happy to receive also a phone call or direct correspondence. I think I see that also many of our guests tend to want to connect personally, no, because there's so much to tell. So yeah, we love to engage with potential visitors and tell them, everything we want to share with them prior
well,
to
your
coming.
your team at the St. Regis was just wonderful, wonderful that we felt so welcomed and just always so helpful.
Mm,
So yes, connecting with them is I could see why people would want to connect with them. But,
yes.
speaking of connecting, when would you suggest people visit the St. Regis, or what time of year would you say is a good time? Maybe when it's a little less crowded.
Mhm.
I know summer's pretty
Yeah.
intense. When would be a good time for people
I
to
mean,
visit?
we of course, I have now lived here also close to 2 years. I've seen the different seasonalities. I'm personally a big fan of the winter months
Oh,
in terms of enjoying Venice, because you have the city more to yourself, which of course can be very pleasant. I also see very clearly longer stays in the winter months than I see in the summer months. So the summer can be a little hot.
Mm.
That's also something perhaps to consider, like the July, August. But, you know, anytime really is good. Of course, there's some peak dates in Venice with some big events that, our guests should be aware of. Like, for example, the month of May, which is the inauguration of the Art Biennale. So tends to be very, very busy in Venice. Then, of course, we have our famous film festival fortnight, which falls this year in September from the 2nd to the 12th of September. There are two. That's kind of, those some peak dates, no? Like this particular weekend, we are also fully committed. We have the beautiful end of the carnival with the famous Il Ballo del Doge. Together with St. Valentine's. My God, you couldn't have a better finish on the
Yeah.
carnival season with St. Valentine in this romantic city. Yeah.
I'm sure that is stunning, the carnival. I mean, someday I'll
Mm.
have to make it there for that, but in the meantime, I went in October, and I have to say, in my opinion, I mean, the
It's a
weather
very
was
good month.
perfect.
It's
It
a
was
very good month. It's for me. It's also
ugh,
one of my favorite. September can still be a little bit, no, what hot and steamy, if I may say it like that. But October, it's like this Indian summer time. It's starting to cool off, but it's not cool yet,
oh,
right? You still have
yes.
beautiful weather, and there's definitely lesser crowd in the city. Yes.
Is there anything I missed, Audrey, about the St. Regis that we didn't touch on today? Because I'm just so happy to talk to you. I wanna go back.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, I think perhaps something to mention here is that St. Regis Venice became really very loved in town. No, considering that it went into a rebranding mode, no, and we're pretty much now, let's say, since 6 years under St. Regis brand on the market. What's been beautiful about this is that the love the love that they have for us has allowed us to create wonderful collaborations also with great partners like Ginori. I don't know if you recall the beautiful garden
Oh,
that we
yes.
have, which is unique in Venice to have a garden. So that's also one of our unique selling points, you could say. No, the partnership we have with the Ginori Chinaware out of Firenze. It's quite unique. Then, of course, our spa with Valmont, the Berengo Studio, which is one of the older glassmaking factories of Murano, who has put a lot of art pieces
Yeah.
into our spaces, like the Ai Weiwei chandelier of the Gran
Oh,
Salone, which I'm sure you remember.
yes.
The Simon Berger four icons with the shattered glass. I mean, we've got it's nice to see that the love is shared across you know many people in this region, and I think it's worth mentioning because we appreciate you know to work together to make something grand and loved.
Well, you certainly did that for my family, and we could feel the love, from the service to the artwork was so stunning and beautiful,
Yeah.
and, just everything was perfection. So, there's definitely love here from Chicago for
Thank
St.
you,
Regis.
Colleen.
So, thank you for joining us, Audrey. I know you probably have to run and you run this beautiful hotel, but we really appreciate you joining us, and, someday I will return if you'll have
Yes,
me.
please stay in touch. You will be always
Okay.
welcome, Colleen, always.
Thank you, Audrey. So after the St. Regis, I stayed at the NH Collection Murano Villa with my husband and daughter, and we actually stayed on this island where Murano glass work is made. And I've always wondered about that when you see it in stores, like where does this come from? It comes from this one island. And we took a tour. Now, there's lots of touristy places where you can take a tour of glass making. Don't do that. We went to the oldest glass factory in Murano. It's called Barovia and Tosa. Barovia and Tosa. And this was the actual place where they're making it. It's not a tourist destination, but you can get tours of this beautiful glass making I guess place, for lack of a better word. And you can actually see the care and all the work that goes into this glassware. So the hotel that I stayed with my husband and daughter after the St. Regis was the NH Collection, and that's the one that I just mentioned was at the Murano Island. And again, it felt like a local hotel, but when you walked in, um, behind these big doors. It was like beautiful, beautiful hotel. Really beautiful rooms. We actually stayed in a room that had a loft, so my daughter was up in the loft, and my husband and I were down below, and everything was just in that hotel. It's hard to explain, but I will share some pictures, but everything was behind these beautiful doors. I think they're from the 1800s, and it was a modern hotel with, a little bar there and a restaurant, and, just a great place to stay if you actually wanna be on the island of Murano and just take a tour of all the glass, being made there. Thank you for listening to Round Trip. For more inspiration, follow us at Round Trip Colleen Kelly on all socials. You can also visit roundtripcolleenkelly.com for more information and travel articles. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, we would love to talk to you. You can reach us at roundtripcolleenkelly@gmail.com. And finally, if you like what you hear, please follow, subscribe, and leave us a comment as you listen. So love talking to all of you, and I'm so glad you joined me. Can't wait to connect on the next one.